Hey guys, how's it going? Grindtastic Games, and this isn't the greatest Monarch gameplay, but whenever you're playing with fully random people, it's actually really hard to do well with the Monarch, which is the biggest downside to it. You have to have team coordination with the Monarch to really do well, because Monarch is rather squishy and actually can't deal a lot of damage. So, whenever you're going up against people with random teammates, it's really easy for you to find that you're surrounded, you're being outgunned, you're not able to get proper support, or whatever the case is. So, I do apologize if this isn't the greatest, but I'm playing solo, so that's got to count for something. Anyways, so I played with this all of last night after I got home from work, and I have a few points to make on it, a few suggestions and things like that. So firstly, my three cores I'm using are arc rounds, rearm, and the accelerator or accelerated Exo 16. So those are my three cores. I do reach my third core, which I didn't know if it was possible for a little while. But my first point to really talk about with this is that the the whole energy siphon ability needs to be a little tweaked. So, as we saw right there at the beginning, the Ronin is able to fully block the energy siphon ability. Now this, it seems pretty bad, to say the least, because with you being as squishy, well, you're not necessarily squishy, but your DPS is so minor that you end up in a lot of trouble. But with that, the idea is that maybe the stun was meant for Ronin, so that you could stop a Ronin that's charging you and, maybe do some damage to them while they're stunned. With Ronin able to fully block, they're able to take your already weak ability and completely negate it, basically, because of the simple fact that you're no longer able to stun them. And point two on this ability, on why I feel like it needs to be tweaked, is that as you can see, whenever you hit an enemy with a shield, a huge chunk of that shield goes away. But if you hit an enemy that has no shield and is in their chassis, it does like 10% of one health bar. I just nailed a Titan that was running away in a doomed state with no shield, and it hardly even moved their health bar. And that is quite honestly ridiculous. It does no damage. And since Ronin is blocking physical damage, that means that you're going from, we'll say, 25 damage to 2 damage, because I think it blocks out like 80% of the damage as Ronin. So with that, I feel like the energy siphon ability could use a little bit of a buff in terms of damage it does to a chassis. And I'll come around to that again towards the end of this. Second point is that it's got too many hard counters. Like, strictly from a Monarch v Monarch standpoint, it was actually perfect timing that that just happened in the video, because in a Monarch v Monarch situation, the second person to fire their energy siphon is going to end up at a huge advantage, because that first person that fires, gets their quarter bar, half bar of shielding out of it. Then the second person fires, and that second person at that point is able to get like all of that first person's energy right back, while they only received very, very little damage due to the fact that they were in their chassis only situation. So since the damage is not equal to what happens to a chassis and what happens to shielding, it in it is extremely favorable to the person who fires second out of a Monarch v Monarch setup. So if you can try to fire yours right after they fire theirs, you should come out on top 9 out of 10 times. So, uh, moving on, I would like to talk about simple little ideas that I was having. So this one right now was built around a aggressive Monarch position. So I've got arc rounds that are supposed to increase damage plus increase your uh, your magazine size in the weapon. Then rearm, which gets you both of your abilities much faster and lets you go back to work so much faster. Then the accelerator XO16, which deals more damage and also raises your accuracy. I believe it was both. Sorry for the little stutter there. I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I think it was both, but I can't remember for sure. So yeah, it does all this stuff, and it's really destructive. But I came across a team that was using the they were using the Monarch flawlessly. Um, they had 4 Monarchs and a Tome, and I'm guessing that they were all running uh, the ability to give each other shields, because every single time that you came across this team, they had full shields on all of their Titans. And with that, it became very difficult to take all of them out, because they had this situation where each of them had full shields. Then they started to rebuild their cooldowns. So, say that everyone on our team focused on one of the Monarchs. At that point, a couple of other Monarchs would hit them and give them additional shields. And then they could use their rearm to get it again, so that even if we kept firing and hitting this Monarch, it was able to fully withstand a barrage of XO16 rounds from, I think we had 4 Monarchs and a Legion or something like that. So it was an insanely one-sided battle, to the point that everyone but me and one other teammate quit out of it. And with that, you can see the power of the Monarch. But this is, I want to wrap up by talking about my predictions for the Monarch. Whether they buff or not, whether they nerf or not. My prediction is that the Monarch is not going to be a common sight here in the future. Why? Because of the simple fact that I pointed out multiple downsides to the energy sap ability, or energy siphon, sorry. So with the energy siphon ability not doing much damage to chassis and focusing really on its ability to absorb shields directly, you lose a lot of benefit against, we'll say, legions or tones or anything else that is not shielded. Now, as you get out of Titan Brawl and have fewer Titans to focus up on, you have fewer shielding opportunities. So, let's say that we have a attrition game. People call on their Titans. They don't have overshield very long if they have it. As more Titans drop that are Scorches, Legions, Tones, or Ronins, you're going to see fewer and fewer shields. Since the energy siphon ability is so weak against a chassis itself, it's going to be very detrimental to the Monarch, that it does not have the ability to deal a lot of damage. Only one of your abilities is actually able to deal damage in this setup. So you've got your missile volley, and that's it. So with that, you lose the benefit of having that second ability, whereas every other Titan is usually sporting two to three abilities that deal damage. Um, so with that, I'm going to predict that you're going to see fewer and fewer Monarchs being used, since they really only shine if there's Monarchs on the other team. So, as you can see, that would get exponential, because the fewer Monarchs there are, the fewer people, or the less benefit there is to a Monarch. So, that's my prediction. I like it, but I'm afraid it's going to drop off. Sorry I went a little long, but if you liked this, click the like button, click one of the two videos, or click the subscribe bubble in the middle. Please, it would help me out so much, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.